Battlefield 6 is fun. Boom. There you go. Wrap it up.
Easiest video to make of my life.
But in all seriousness, this game is a lot of fun. I've been playing it on stream and with some of my friends, and with 21 hours in the game at the time of recording the script, I thought it would be good to give a bit of a quick review of what I've found to like about the game and some of the things I don't really like. So, let's get into it. Just for a little bit of context, I've not always been a Battlefield person. I have played a couple of the games. I played Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5 or V a bunch. I didn't play 2042 when it came out. However, I was aware of the discourse around 2042 and some of the problems with 2042. And I will be comparing some of that to Battlefield 6 because it's important. It was the last game in the series, and this is the new game, and some of the stuff actually has carried over a little bit. So, good news for the Battlefield veterans, the class system is back. Gone are the operators of 2042, and now the game is back to its original four-class structure: Recon, Assault, Support, and Engineer. There are some things that are brought back from 2042 that do make it into the game. Any class can use any weapon. However, classes now have weapon proficiencies, which provide you with a massive bonus to weapon handling while you're using the weapon your class is proficient with. While I do like this system, I do think it kind of pushes other weapons that aren't proficient, that don't have proficiencies on them, to the side. Because it's only 4 weapon types that have proficiencies. Those are, off the top of my head, assault rifles for assault, LMGs for support, SMGs for engineer, and then sniper rifles for recon, which all work and make sense for their classes. But I personally think it should be expanded to each class having 2 weapon types that they're proficient with. That makes sense with sort of their playstyle. So for assault, keep the ARs, but then also add shotguns as a proficient weapon, because again, the first loadout you get comes with a shotgun, so why not be proficient in them? Engineers should be still SMGs, but also shotguns, because again, you already have a kit that's sort of built around AA close range with the SMG, and it just fits with the engineer style. Support adding carbines to them on top of LMGs, I think allows for you to sort of shift between either being, a good gunner or running around as a medic. And then finally, recon should be DMRs and sniper rifles, because that makes sense. That just sort of works within the role. It's not necessarily a deal breaker if that never happens. I just think that it would be neat, because you have all these different weapons that I don't think are being used nearly as much, because people are sticking within the proficiencies. And because, of course, the operator system from 2042 has been entirely purged, each of the classes have their own specific role, and they each feel unique. Recon is 100% about being a recon, doing reconnaissance, going around the map, spotting things, destroying equipment, sitting in the back, taking shots, or moving around and providing the rest of the team with that little bit of reconnaissance support that role allows. The support role, obviously, working on medicing and resupplying their team, dropping down their ammo bags, putting up quick fortifications, reviving with paddles and all of that. It's still all there. Engineering, fixing things or breaking things, fixing vehicles, also being the anti-vehicle role, all fitting just underneath the engineer banner. And finally, assault, being the take places and kill things role, is proficient at that. In fact, it's the only role that has 2 primary weapon options. And it's part of the reason why I think they should be proficient in shotguns. All in all, I like what they did with the class system, blending what somewhat worked or what was interesting in 2042 with the older system to make one that allows for some level of customization while still maintaining the class differences. But enough about classes. How does this game feel? The base multiplayer experience feels great. Having played most of the game modes with different roles, I really haven't found much that I dislike about the core game. I am really in love with the escalation game mode. It just scratches my brain in just the right way. I do think in regards to the capture modes, I do think that some of the maps need a little bit of an adjustment because there are some points looking at New Sobek City where there are just parts of the map that are just painful to get through. It just needs like a little bit of a once over, a little bit of a cleanup, but beyond that, the maps feel great. The game is decently balanced overall. Haven't really come across a lot of like netcode sort of server side issues. I was playing with a friend who's across the pond from me in Europe, so there was a little bit of that. But beyond that, I didn't really have anything happen locally with it. This game does have optimization issues. I'm not going to pretend that it doesn't. When I was streaming the game, I would consistently have trouble loading into menus or loading into the respawn menu specifically during games. It would, drop to like 10 or 15 frames and then would pick back up when I got back into gameplay. And I did notice, I don't have any footage of it because I noticed this in my own time, but I had a bit of a bug where when I alt-tabbed out of the game on PC and then tabbed back in, my textures would get a little bit fuzzy, which is kind of weird. But yeah. And of course, the only bug that I've really seen is that drone bug that people found where you could get on top of the recon drone and then start hitting it with a hammer and it will just sort of elevate you up on the drone because it won't break the drone. But I think there's talk of it getting patched, so that's not really a big bug. But beyond that, the game functions. It's good out of the box, which is surprising for this modern AAA system. The anti-cheat in this game is good, but it has some problems, primarily because it's a kernel-level anti-cheat. That means that it really takes in a lot of information about your computer and requires a lot of access to your computer, which, unfortunately, for some people means they can't play the game because of how the game does secure boot or how the game or how their computer handles it, because they need certain permissions and their computer can't provide those permissions, which is unfortunate. But the strength of the anti-cheat is amazing. I have yet to run into any cheaters on the game, and as far as I've seen from across the community, there's been a lot of talk about how good and how little cheating there is and how good the anti-cheat has been in screening and banning cheaters quickly. What about the campaign in RedSec, the Battle Royale mode? Well, the campaign is all right. I'm going to make a specific video going into depth about my thoughts on it, but in a brief sentence, it was fun, but a bit scatterbrained and really fumbled at the end. And RedSec, I haven't played it yet, and I'm not really into Battle Royales. I have heard that it is good. So if it's also free to play, so if you want to try and get into Battlefield but aren't really, used to the gunplay or anything like that, you can just go play RedSec in lieu of playing Battlefield 6. But if you can, I would strongly suggest playing Battlefield 6. It's a pretty solid game. It's less of a rework or a reboot of the franchise and more of a renewal of the Battlefield formula. It learned from the missteps of 2042 and mixes it into the original ideas of Battlefield to create something that feels at once new but also nostalgic. I really have been enjoying this game, and I can't wait to play it some more on stream. Thank you all so very much for watching. I know this was a little bit of a shorter video, but I hope you enjoyed it regardless. Please like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. Leave a comment if you have been enjoying the Battlefield 6 game, or if there is something you didn't like about it that I didn't mention in this video. And of course, if you subscribe, I will let my editor have a ray of sunshine. Take it easy, and I will see you all next time.